Africa. Across the sunlit grasslands, survival functions as a severe elimination process. Within this ecosystem, no safety buffer exists for individuals lacking vigilance. Each step across this terrain carries biological consequence. It can sustain life or immediately trigger a lethal pursuit. On this savanna, instinct is the only reference system. A delay of 1 second results in removal from the population. Natural mechanisms do not operate through leniency. They operate through mechanical efficiency and extreme reaction speed. The rule is direct. Individuals with advantage establish control. Individuals without it are eliminated without trace. Behind this, severity operates a continuous cycle of raw force. However, regardless of biological superiority, the governing principle remains constant. Separation from the group results in termination. Once an individual is isolated, survival probability drops to its lowest level under environmental and predatory pressure. Welcome to one of the most demanding ecosystems on Earth. In grassland systems, herd concentration does not depend on social bonding. It functions as mechanical risk distribution. For a wildebeest, maintaining position within the movement of thousands is the only protective layer. When that structure is disrupted by physical injury, the defensive system collapses immediately. This adult male wildebeest carries a muscle tear in the hind limb. Within a high-pressure survival environment, this injury converts the individual into a biological vulnerability. As herd movement accelerates toward new grazing zones, the gap between this individual and the group expands rapidly. Approximately 50 meters away, concealed within sun-dried tall grass, this is distance management. The gap closes incrementally each time the target loses attention. When an opening appears, stillness converts into acceleration. Muscle mass exceeding 330 pounds launches forward at maximum speed. There is no warning sound. Impact targets the flank. Claws secure the center of gravity. Predator weight drives the prey toward the ground, initiating a mechanical struggle between opposing forces. The conflict reaches peak intensity as final survival responses activate. The second lion engages and secures the trachea to eliminate oxygen flow. When life ceases, stored biological energy transfers to the predators. This energy supports their continued survival within the next cycle. The system continues to operate. The distant herd advances without turning back. The vulnerable individual is removed to maintain overall energy efficiency. The failed organism is eliminated. The biological cycle proceeds. When the perspective expands beyond individual hunts, the Serengeti system emerges as a massive biological machine operating at maximum intensity. The ground here is never still. The savannah vibrates under the mechanical pressure of millions of hooves. This is the point of origin of the Great Migration, a severe natural stress test designed to define the limits of biological endurance. The defining sound of the Serengeti is resonance, the convergence of pounding hooves and constant physical conflict. The pressure of millions of impacts against hardened ground generates a unique vibration frequency, a signal of energy flow moving across the continent. Within this grand system, each individual functions as a minor unit in an energy supply chain. The Serengeti system functions with absolute neutrality. It offers opportunity to all organisms. It sustains only those with the highest endurance thresholds. This landscape is composed of dust, blood, and the physical laws of existence. Serengeti, to where the migration cycle never ends. Within the African ecosystem, the leopard operates as a highly efficient solitary predator. It does not rely on pride coordination like lions. It does not invest in extreme sprint velocity like the cheetah. The leopard strategy combines signal suppression, compressed explosive force, and post-kill resource management. The rosette pattern on its coat is not decorative, for it is an optical camouflage system that dissolves a 130 to 155 pound leopard stillness is a biological energy compression process. This animal can remain motionless for hours while locking visual focus on a target. The skeletal and muscular system emits no detectable mechanical disturbance. Approach is calculated through terrain analysis and wind direction assessment. For the leopard, hunting efficiency depends on distance reduction. Natural obstacles are used to close the gap to optimal strike range. Once lethal distance is achieved, a rapid mechanical burst is initiated. The kill is completed with a bite to critical zones such as the nape or trachea. For a solitary hunter, possession of concentrated biomass attracts competitors such as lions and hyenas. At this stage, the leopard activates its defining tactical behavior: vertical relocation of the carcass. Within the broader ecosystem, the leopard represents the solution to solitary survival among larger populations. The strategy relies on silent approach and vertical resource control. Dominance is not established through vocal pressure. It is established through invisibility and occupation of separate spatial layers. Leopard, the organism that optimizes silence within the ecosystem. Within the African survival system, the cheetah operates as a specialist for one objective: maximum acceleration. Unlike leopard ambush strategy, the cheetah is engineered for speeds exceeding 68 miles per hour. Behind this locomotor performance lies net energy expenditure and biological risk at critical thresholds. Speed is not absolute advantage. It is a trade of stored reserves for brief explosive output. Cheetah mechanics follow strict aerodynamic principles. A lightweight skeletal frame with reduced bone density and a highly elastic spine allows stride extension up to 23 feet. Non-retractable claws function as fixed traction points on dry ground, generating optimal propulsion and stability during high-speed turns. This locomotor system operates under extreme thermodynamic pressure. During a chase lasting less than 30 seconds, core body temperature can approach 105 degrees Fahrenheit. At this threshold, the central nervous system faces risk of irreversible heat damage. Each acceleration cycle triggers severe energy expenditure. Blood pressure and muscle oxygen concentration surge rapidly. After pursuit, the cheetah requires 20 to 30 minutes to regulate breathing and reduce core temperature. The post-sprint recovery window is when cheetahs are most exposed to lions and hyenas. Due to limited jaw strength and reduced muscle mass for sustained combat, the cheetah must follow a strict protocol: rapid kill, immediate consumption. Risk index remains consistently high. Cheetahs frequently abandon carcasses when competitors appear in order to preserve mobility. Even minor injury that affects locomotion results in loss of feeding capacity. On the African Savannah, the cheetah demonstrates that extreme advantage carries severe biological limitation. It masters velocity. It is also constrained by that same mechanism. Cheetah, an organism operating at the defined boundary of energy tolerance. Within the African survival system, the lion operates as a highly organized population-based predator. This approach differs fundamentally from the solitary tactics of other big cats. It does not optimize individual speed like the cheetah. It does not rely on elevation and concealment like the leopard. The lion maintains dominance over the savannah through collective intelligence and the ability to systematize prey chaos. The pride functions as a coordinated mechanical unit. Each individual acts as a functional link within a tactical operating chain. Lion's strength lies in controlling the energy flow of hoofed populations. This is especially evident during the Great Migration, when millions of animals generate large-scale movement instability. Rather than random attacks, lions deploy multi-layer encirclement strategies. Lionesses, the primary hunting units, divide into clearly defined functional roles. This strategy converts prey numbers into a critical weakness. In panic conditions, hoofed animals create mechanical interference among themselves. This produces isolated targets. Lions exploit this loss of control to execute termination. A lion hunt is a force optimization problem. They do not need to outrun the fastest individual. They coordinate to stop the individual with the lowest defensive capacity. Simultaneous mechanical pressure creates a closed lock system. Escape probability drops to minimum levels. Unlike solitary hunters, lions maintain possession of recovered energy through pride dominance. After the kill, a strict consumption order is enforced. The dominant male, with greater muscle mass and mane structure, acts as a deterrence unit. This represents advanced resource management. Lions combine high kill efficiency with sustained food control under pressure from hyenas or leopards. Within the African survival system, the spotted hyena operates as an extremely efficient energy coordinator. Unlike big cats that rely on short burst attacks, hyenas specialize in endurance-based tactics and total resource utilization. They operate under a strict matriarchal social structure. They possess mechanical traits that convert the hardest organic remains into biological energy. The core distinction of hyenas lies in endurance capacity and respiratory optimization. While cheetahs and lions are limited by core temperature thresholds during high-speed pursuits, hyenas maintain steady speed over dozens of miles. This is enabled by a large heart and efficient oxygen exchange. This is a system exhaustion termination method. Hyenas do not require explosive strikes. They apply continuous pursuit pressure until prey heart rate and muscular systems fail under energy overload. Within the African energy structure, hyenas maintain loop closure. They operate under absolute pragmatism. Hierarchical rules are overridden when survival metrics require it. Hyena presence marks the end of waste. It initiates material breakdown for life regeneration. Spotted hyena, the organism that fully harvests and coordinates energy across the savannah. Along the migration route, all population pressure converges at a single, decisive node, the Mara River. From an ecological perspective, this waterway is not only a source of moisture, it is also the highest risk hydrothermal trap on the planet. At this location, the survival system no longer operates on ground speed metrics. It shifts into a state of forced confrontation between hoofed animals and aquatic predators. Beneath the turbid surface, The Nile crocodile operates a hunting mechanism based on motion suppression. It maintains a state of fossil-like stillness, submerged with body density adjusted to avoid surface ripples. Only the visual and respiratory organs rise minimally above the water to monitor the wildebeest gathering zone. The crocodile expends no energy on pursuit. It optimizes position, so the migration flow delivers energy directly into strike range. For the wildebeest population, crossing the Mara River is a biological probability problem under crowd pressure. Accumulated panic from tens of thousands behind generates mechanical force. This pressure drives the leading individuals into deep water. At this moment, escape routes are sealed by steep banks and fast current. All attempts to reverse direction become ineffective. This is when the ambush mechanism activates at maximum efficiency. The crocodile executes termination through target chaos. A bite with pressure reaching up to 5,000 psi locks onto limb bone structure or the neck region. Resistance is immediately neutralized as the victim is pulled downward. At depth, the wildebeest loses all locomotive advantage. The crocodile applies maximum torque through the death roll. Soft tissue is mechanically separated. Under these conditions, herd psychology becomes an indirect lethal factor. Panic propagation generates physical collisions among individuals. This results in trampling or entrapment against submerged rock formations. The Nile crocodile operates according to gravity and hydrostatic pressure parameters. All living entities within this zone are converted into consumable caloric units. When the river crossing cycle ends, organic remains are retained by the Mara River. The migration flow is forced to continue along its biological route. The brutality of this location lies in its function as a mandatory bottleneck. No hoofed species can remove this boundary from the movement process. Crocodiles re-enter ambush state. They vanish beneath the surface to begin the next energy-waiting cycle. The Savannah system does not tolerate lapses in vigilance. The calm surface of the Mara River represents pressure accumulation before mass termination. Serengeti and surrounding regions operate as a kingdom of calculated stillness. Surface stability can be shattered by survival impulses within seconds. The Mara River, the fatal locking point of an ancient steel-toothed system. Within the Serengeti ecosystem, if the big cats represent forces of target elimination, then the African elephant is the entity that coordinates structure and maintains adaptive stability across the entire landscape. With a body mass reaching several tons, the presence of elephants is not merely that of a mobile biological unit. It is a physical variable capable of reshaping ecosystem components. Each movement of an elephant herd generates direct mechanical impacts on soil structure and vegetation cover. The position of elephants within the Serengeti is unique. Their presence maintains ecological prosperity across the landscape. Elephants demonstrate that ultimate biological power lies in the ability to generate surplus value for the connected network while sustaining individual survival. As elephant herds move through acacia stands, they leave behind a restructured savanna. Hydrological nodes are opened. Movement corridors are expanded. Plant genetic codes begin germination beneath the soil. African elephants, colossal architectural entities that coordinate the survival cycle. In the Serengeti ecosystem, if elephants function as engineers that coordinate terrain, African Cape buffalo operate as mobile mechanical fortresses. Possess highly effective passive and active defensive structures. Horns composed of dense keratin that cover the frontal bone and form a protective shield for the skull and central nervous system. biological configuration makes Cape buffalo the highest risk targets for large cats. Forces lions to calculate force parameters with precision before initiating an attack phase. Thermal radiation reaches peak levels. Cape buffalo initiate an energy conservation mechanism by halting movement beneath dense acacia canopies. Weight exerted by buffalo hooves directly shapes soil structure. Low shrubs are suppressed. Fixed movement corridors are established. These corridors redirect the movement patterns of other animal species in the area. Tall grass surrounding waterholes. Lions establish ambush positions. They exploit the limited visibility of buffalo. Waterhole confrontations become equations of psychological pressure and tolerance to physical collision. Single horn charge from a Cape buffalo can generate penetrating force capable of causing severe internal injury to a predator. As a result, typically attack only after identifying individuals showing movement irregularities or isolation from herd protection. An attack phase is initiated. Cape buffalo rarely engage in solitary flight behavior. And to counterattack collectively. They use body mass to push predators back and relieve pressure on trapped members. Conflicts at hydrological nodes conclude. System energy is redistributed through mortalities. However, the overall herd structure remains stable. Buffalo continue their biological route, carrying the marks of confrontation as part of natural selection. presence confirms a core Savannah principle. Territorial control belongs to entities capable of converting unity into an unbreakable defensive mechanism. African Cape buffalo. Under a resilient defensive units at the ecological system critical points,